Hello, welcome back to Lady Love Said Reads. My name is Jessica, and this is my June wrap-up. It is the morning of July 4th. I'm filming in the morning because my neighborhood is terrible about fireworks. My makeup is barely concealing my exhaustion because last night they were up super late shooting off fireworks. All of my critters really don't deal well with the fireworks. So I was up with the fireworks, keeping my cats and my dogs and my birds and my bunny as calm as I possibly could. I was playing like calming piano music and petting them and talking to them, and it was still really hard on them. I really dislike fireworks. I am totally cool with people doing things that are fun for them if it's not harmful to anyone. But fireworks harm the environment, they harm animals, they harm people, they harm property. Just stop. Just stop. And I will die on this hill. So yeah, coming to you in the morning, with my wrap up to hopefully avoid, well, there just was a firework. It's 10 o'clock in the morning. There was another firework. Well, we're going to get through it. I apologize in advance if you hear some big loud booms. I promise it's not the end of the world like my animals think it is. Oh, now they want treats. You know, my dogs are actually starting to associate fireworks with treats, which is like a positive thing. So they heard the boom and now they're down here like, give us a treat. We were good. So of course they get treats. If I can find my notebook, we'll start with stats. It's chaos. That's just my brand though, isn't it? I'm trying to get away from the chaos. I'm trying to have just a little bit more peace and calm and routine. Well, we can see how that's going. All right, June stats. I read 9 books in June. 0 middle grade, 2 YA, and 7 adult. Only one of those books came from my shelves though. And I hauled 2 books. So really, I'm still at 28% for my unread ratio, read to unread ratio, meaning I've only read 28% of the books on my shelves and it's been at 28 all year. I need to get to 38 by the end of the year. It's not going well because for every book on my shelf I read, I buy more books and it cancels it out. So it just stays at 28%. So I'm really going to try to hit this hard the second half of the year and spend a lot of time reading from my shelves. I've changed up the way I do my TBRs so that I can just pull from my shelves and mood read from my shelves as much as I can. In terms of genre, I read 2 literary fiction, 1 cozy mystery, 3 nonfiction, 1 thriller, 1 horror, 1 fantasy, and 1 romance. For ratings, I had 1 DNF, 1 2-star, 1 3-star, 3 4-stars, and 3 5-stars. Pretty balanced reading month in terms of ratings. For BIPOC authors, I read 3 BIPOC authors, and that makes my percentage for the year. That makes my percentage for the year of BIPOC authors about 50%, which is right around where I want to be. I want at least 50% or more of the books I read to be written by BIPOC or queer or disabled authors. Maggie. So I'm happy with being at about 50%. I could have done better this month overall with BIPOC authors, but it is what it is. All right, time to play MASH. If you're new here, I do my wrap-ups playing the game MASH, which is a numbers game that me and my friends all played in the 90s. It predicts your future, like your future house, your future job, your future spouse, that kind of thing. So the way that I break it up is I focus on 4 areas: the house, the romantic partner, how many kids, and the job. And the way that I apply this to my books is that for house, I look at the setting. I draw 4 books and I decide of those 4, which would I want to be in the setting of. For romantic partner, I look at, who would I want to be in a relationship with. For kids or family, I look at what friend group or family would I want to be a part of. And job, I'd say, which job would I want to have of all the books. So I've got my jar. It's the Apothecary jar from Owl Crate. I need to give the dogs another treat because they're begging. 1 second. Okay, first we have Flowerheart by Catherine Bakewell. We Deserve Monuments by Jas Hammonds. Catherine House by Elizabeth Thomas. And Emotional Labor by Rose Hackman. This is kind of tough. Okay, so there's that. Okay, I think I've got it. Hi, Pie. Let's start with Flowerheart by Catherine Bakewell. This was a buddy read, an impromptu buddy read I did with my friend Jasper at the Lair, and we both DNF'd it. So this is the DNF for the month. This is a cozy YA fantasy. It's about a girl who can't control her magic, and so her like witchy council wants to take her magic away because it's like causing problems, and like so this old friend of hers wants to train her because she injures her father and her magic makes azalea flowers grow out of her father's chest, and the azalea flowers are poisonous and he's dying. And so this guy is like, I'll train you, you'll do a blessing on your dad and it will heal them, and if you can do that, they won't take your magic, but you'll give your magic to me. So she agrees to this, and that's the basic premise. And what got me with this, like, the story was okay. I would have stuck with it because the story was fine. The characters were fine, but just the writing was so bad. It was so bad. It just felt very, very juvenile and like unprofessional. Like, it really felt like extremely amateur writing. And it just drew me out of the story. I couldn't get into it. It also started like at the about the halfway point just to really slow down, where nothing was really happening, and it just got very boring. And I think Jasper felt similarly to how I felt about it, so we both DNF'd it. But for MASH, I picked setting, because the setting of it was probably the best part. Like, it was very cozy. Like, it was very cozy and whimsical. And I think that was the strength of the book, is that it was cozy and whimsical. Honestly, the best part about this book is the cover. The cover is gorgeous and it illustrates the setting really well, but that's about the only thing that I liked about it. So next, Emotional Labor by Rose Hackman. This is a work of nonfiction. I gave it 4 stars. It is about how women are expected to do all of the emotional and cognitive labor for men, and how this really helps keep the patriarchy in place. And so she gives really good examples of this, gives examples using actual real world scenarios, and talks about what we can do to start ending that uneven divide of workload when it comes to emotional labor. Basically, men want a mom, they don't want a partner, they want a mommy, and we just need to stop being mommies to everybody. I liked it a lot. I thought it was a solid read, solid theoretically, good research. I just wish it was less white American. Most of the examples were like from white America, and oh my goodness, there are so many examples that could have been used in the world. And she's not even an American author. I think she's from England, I think. So I didn't like that so much. And I thought that could have been much better. But a book can only be so long, but you know, so it was a 4-star read. For MASH, I picked Family Group, because I'd love to be in a family group where I didn't have to be everybody's mommy, where the emotional labor and the chores and all of that was shared equally among family members. Wouldn't that be the dream? And it is a dream. It is a dream. It is not reality for women, which is why I'm single with no kids, because F that. This video has already been half an hour long, and it's mostly me just trying to manage the animal chaos. You're not going to see it because I'm going to edit it out, but boy, is this going to be fun to edit. Catherine House by Elizabeth Thomas. I read this because it was the Full Moon Book Club pick for May? Yeah, for May, and I read it in June. But this was also the only book from my shelf that I read. Anyway, this is a dark academic thriller, and it's about Catherine House, which is this sort of alternative university where students have to go live at Catherine House and shut out all of the rest of the world while they live there and get their degree. Catherine House is the only place in the world that studies this substance called plasm, and it is like a cult. It's very culty. I gave this 4 stars. This is a brilliant book. but you really have to think about it. Like, you've really, really got to think about it. It's so intricately plotted. There's a lot of symbolism, like a lot of heavy symbolism. And it helps to read the author's note that says behind the book in the back. I would actually read that before you read the book, because after I read that, things started to fall into place and really make sense for me with this book. This is one of those books that is hard to understand what is completely happening here and what the author's getting at. But when I read that about the book section, it started to really make sense. And when I really broke down the symbolism and thought about each scene and how it interconnects with the other scenes and how it symbolizes the larger ideas being presented in this story, it made sense. And it's absolutely brilliant, brilliant writing. It's 4 stars because I do think we need just a little bit more setup to be able to get there. Like if that behind the book had been a preface at the beginning, I think it would really clear up a lot of confusion for a lot of people who are willing to give this book a lot of thought. This book really addresses the idea that a university can either cause growth or decay, depending on who you are and depending on what the university does, and is about and stands for. And it really does connect to her experience at Yale, the author's experience at Yale, and how she's trying to represent that experience, and her father and her grandfather's experience at Yale. It's just good. It's so good. It's so freaking good. Like I said, the issue is you really have to think about it. You really, really got to think about it. And I'm still uncovering things a month out where I'll sit down and think about it. And I'm like, what did that scene mean? And I'm like, oh, okay, yeah. Okay, I get that scene now. This is definitely worth a reread. So I'm glad I have it on my shelves so that I can reread it and annotate it, because there's a lot here. There's a lot here. For MASH, I picked job. And the job that I would want in this book is the people that bring them supplies. So they bring them supplies from the outside world, like all of their food supplies and things like that. Because Catherine House is so secretive, like nobody in the outside world knows what goes on at Catherine House. Even the graduates, they never talk about their experience at Catherine House. So if this was the world I lived in, I think it would be really fun to have the job of like dropping off the supplies, because you'd get to kind of have a sneak peek into what's going on and have like that insider information, and that would be fun. We Deserve Monuments by Jess Hammonds. This is a YA contemporary mystery thriller, and I gave it 5 stars. I thought it was just the perfect little book. Excellent for its audience. It has a sapphic romance. The grandmother in this story is dying of cancer, so it addresses issues of like mortality, grief, death and dying, family dynamics, family dysfunction. It talks a lot about some historical themes of like racism and homophobia. It just was really, really good. And I felt all the feels, and there is a twist at the end I didn't see coming at all. Like, not a single time did this thought or possibility cross my mind. And when it happened, what? What? But it makes sense, and it absolutely gave me chills. That little twist at the end, just like, oh yes, oh yes. So obviously, the last option I have for MASH is romantic partner. And, you know, there's any number of people in this story that I'd love to be a romantic partner. Grandma Letty, honestly, Grandma Letty is such a badass. I mean, she's an option. Even the father figure, that he doesn't play a huge role in this, but he's super supportive and kind and sweet and gentle. And, I mean, I'd date him too. So, like, pretty much there's a whole group of characters in this book that I would not mind being in a relationship with. Next round, I'm just going to draw the rest of them since I had 9 books, so I'll have my 4 books plus a wild card. Kill Switch by Penelope Douglas. Soil, The Story of a Black Mother's Garden by Camille T. Dungy. Beautiful World, Where Are You by Sally Rooney. Oh my goodness. I forgot I read that in June. The Mad Catter by Kathy Daly, and that leaves Odd Girl Out by Laura James. Okay, I got it. Let's start with Odd Girl Out by Laura James. This is a nonfiction memoir about a woman's experience being diagnosed with autism. She actually has Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, which is what I have, and she's diagnosed as being on the autism spectrum, which I also am. I identified a lot with Laura James' story, but there was a lot that I also didn't identify with, because EDS and autism are spectrum disorders, meaning that everybody experiences them a little bit differently. And I really appreciated that part of the book, how it highlights everything as being that spectrum. And she explains really good detail about her experience with autism and what it actually feels like to live in an autistic brain and have that autistic experience. Oh my gosh, my phone. It's been so noisy this morning and it's starting to drive me a little bonkers. I'm just going to turn my phone off and reduce that noise because I just can't deal right now. In fact, my autism is flaring up. Like, I'm having some sensory issues, I think, right now with all the noise and all the firecrackers and all of the everything. And it's making me very irritable. So if I come across as irritable in this video with every little noise and every little request from the dog and every jump from the cat, like, it's because I'm sensory overload right now and I'm getting very triggered. I think this is a really good book to read if you are questioning whether or not you might be on the autism spectrum, because it gives one really good explanation of what it feels like. And you might not identify with every little thing, and that's okay, but there might be some things that really resonate with you that could help you figure out if maybe seeking a diagnosis is the right step for you to take, or if you want to self-diagnose, because self-diagnosis in the autism community is absolutely valid. I gave Odd Girl Out 4 stars. And for MASH, I would pick Job. Laura James is a journalist. I could do that. The Mad Catter by Kathy Daly. This is a cozy mystery. It's book 2 in the Whales and Tales series. I gave this 2 stars. This book didn't work for me. I thought it was just quite boring and just not her best work. It's been a while since I read it, and I've already put it so far out of my brain that I can't even fully remember all of the reasons I didn't like it, but I'll link you to the vlog where I talk about it up here. For MASH, I chose Setting because this is in the Pacific Northwest and in community settled primarily by Irish immigrants, and like that would be great for me, being like my family being Irish immigrants and me enjoying cold rainy weather. So like the setting would be great. That's why I picked this series out to read it to begin with. The footage is so long for this video. I can't deal. Okay, Beautiful World, Where Are You by Sally Rooney. This is a literary fiction, and it is about like a slice of life story, and it's a love story, and it's about women who write each other letters back and forth. One of them is a writer. One of them is she works in an editing and publishing company. They're both dealing with their own relationship issues. And it really just is, like I said, it's a slice of life story. And Sally Rooney does a good job of developing these characters and making them feel real and making the conflicts feel like real and not superficial. And I really, really enjoyed this book. I gave it 5 stars. And for MASH, I would do Friend Group because the letters between Alice and I forget the other friend's name, Alice and her other friend, they are like such good letters, and it's such an interesting little friend group that they have going on where there is some dysfunction among the friends here, but they also just really love each other and they are doing their best to be good friends and good partners to each other. And like, what more can you ask than someone who loves you and is trying their best? So that's what I would pick for that one. All right, we're almost there, y'all. Stick with me. We can do it. Soil, The Story of a Black Mother's Garden by Camille T. Dungy. This is nonfiction memoir about a woman who is trying to redo her garden to make it more pollinator friendly, to make it more environmentally friendly, and to create a nice little ecosystem in her yard. And this book didn't work for me. I gave it 3 stars because I feel like there could still be material in here that's really useful for another reader. But she spent a lot of time talking about her writing process and about her experience as a writer. And I wanted gardening. She did a few little anecdotes of like historical gardens by historical figures. That was kind of interesting, but I wanted more of that. And she really kind of veers off the path of that and talks a whole lot about her experience as a writer, her experience with the COVID-19 pandemic, her experience as a mother, and it didn't work for me. I thought it was very disorganized, and it didn't give me what I was looking for. So it was 3 stars because I do think other people can benefit from it, but it's a 2-star in my heart, honestly. And for MASH, I picked Job. I'd love to be a gardener. Kill Switch by Penelope Douglas. This was my favorite book of the month. This book blew me away. This is book 3 in the Devil's Night series, which is a series of dark romance. And these are dark. They are dark and they are heavy. And it follows Damon and Winter's love story. Damon is arguably the most problematic character in this group of friends, and Penelope Douglas does such an amazing job with his development. You understand all of the characters' motivations. You know why they do what they choose to do. You understand how all the stories between all the different couples fit together. She revisits the Devil's Night events, and you get to see the Devil's Night event from different perspectives of the different characters, because that was like a really big event in all of their lives, and the continuity there is fantastic. She's really setting up Will's book in the 4th book really nicely, because we get to know Will a little bit better. The ending is super satisfying and feels real and feels just like, it's just perfection. It's absolutely perfection. This truly is the best romance I have ever read. Ever. Like, hands down, the best romance I've ever read. I don't know how I'm going to find one to ever top it, because it was just absolutely incredible. And I'm blown away. Penelope Douglas is an amazing writer. The way that she gets into these characters' minds, bodies, and souls and makes it make sense, makes the stories intertwine. Like, it's such a craft. It's such an art. And like, I am amazed by her writing. I'm absolutely amazed by her writing. She is hands down my favorite dark romance writer. And this was the best romance I've ever read. It really, really was. I obviously gave it 5 stars, and it's going on my list as a new all-time favorite. So it was clearly my favorite book of the month. And for MASH, I picked Romantic Partner, not Damon. Banks. So if you've read this book series, you know, book 2, Hideaway, focuses on Banks and Kai. And Banks is such a cool character. I fell in love with her in the in Hideaway, and I loved her still in Kill Switch. So give me all the Banks. She's amazing. Okay, we have finally made it to the end of this video, literally like an hour later, because of all the chaos that you won't see, that I'll have to edit out. I'm feeling fully triggered and sensory overloaded. So we're going to go ahead and wrap this up, and let me know down below if you've read any of these books. Tell me what was your favorite book of June and whether you would want to be on the setting, date someone, be in the friend group, or have the job from that book. And if you just want to leave me a note or leave me an emoji to let me know that you're here, go ahead and leave me the emoji with the face and the brain exploding, like the mind blown emoji, because Kill Switch blew my mind. And until next time, make sure that you continue to read good books, drink good coffee, take care of yourselves and each other. Bye! I'm gonna go decompress.